What's going on, guys? It's Anthony here at the Breakout Daily. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. Today, we're going to be talking about making some selections. And I'm not going to go through the books necessarily. I'm going to show you some examples. But one of the ways that I prepare orders for CGC that might help you in preparation for your next CGC submission. So let's dive in to this video. So I get a ton of questions about CGC. What do I send? What don't I send? What grades? This, that, and the other. We're not going to dive too far into grades of comics and or what to send specifically. I will say this up front before we talk about some of the different tiers and different ways to submit comics and my thought process through that. And that is, you always have to consider what you're trying to do within your hobby and world. And I feel like that sometimes gets lost in translation, especially when you've got a new collector or an older collector that has a spark of interest to dive into the CGC world as far as submitting and grading comics, when they maybe have a friend or on Whatnot or on YouTube and they see people with like stacks of slabs. I've got just stacks and stacks of slabs, and they think, well, I can just do this, that, and the other. And maybe they get a little overwhelmed with the process and then with what people are saying. So I'm trying to help you guys better understand my process. This shouldn't take too long. I'm going to try to run through this fairly quick on when I'm preparing orders for CGC and some stuff to consider. First and foremost, always remember a submission box to CGC will require shipping both to and from. So keep that in mind. You can submit different tiers of orders within the same big order, which is what I would recommend if you're considering sending older books, newer books, and everything in between. Now, the way that you send that will go into a different video as far as packing and everything else. But ultimately, you're going to get essentially a different type of, you have to pack it separately and then mark and label them. That's how I do it. We're not talking too much about that today. I'm just talking, you're sitting at your house, you're looking at your 1,000 boxes of books, and you want to make a decision on what to send and how to prepare for that. So I'm going to give you some examples of some of the different things. Currently, with CGC, there are 3 main tiers that I deal with. There are additionally 2 more tiers on top of that I'll touch on real briefly. The first tier is called Modern, and that's 1975 to present day. And the max value per item is $400. And that is kind of a fair market value of said item. The fee is $24. If you want to fast track it, it's an additional $15. The $24 will get you, at this time that I shoot this video, August 2022, has about a 35 business day turnaround, which means you can expect it in 6 to 7 weeks, right around that time for it to start getting graded. Sometimes they move faster, sometimes slower. If you pay the additional $15 for fast track, you will then be brought down to 10 days. Now, something that you have to consider is $15 may not sound like a lot, but if you're sending in 10 books, that's $150. Do you need those books 25 days faster is a question I ask myself, and I would recommend you asking yourself that question as well. Is 25 days worth $150? Maybe it is. Maybe you're doing a show. Maybe you're trading some books. Maybe you really want it bad in your collection. That's for you to decide, but it's something to consider. Don't just choose one or the other. Don't choose the regular and expect that they're going to be faster than what they're advertising. I highly recommend not doing that. So that is Modern tier. The next tier is going to be Economy. That is pre-1975. And again, a value of $400, $35 per item. And currently there's a 233-day turnaround, which is ridiculous. 233-day turnaround for Economy tier. And that's what that is. Under Fast Track, that's an additional $15, bringing the total from $35 to $50 per item, and it has to be lower than $400. I don't like this in this tier. In fact, I don't like it in any of the tiers. I think they need to raise that max value per item because that's essentially the value of the book. So if the value of if it's $1,000 book, once it's graded, or you have a near mint copy of X, near mint copy of Ultimate Fallout 4, you're automatically going to have to go down to the next tier we're going to talk about, because the value exceeds the dollar figure there. In this case, you're going to pay $50 to get a $400 or less comic book graded. So I hope you got that comic book for a very good deal as far as the business proposition goes. The value of the book plus grading plus shipping is your all-in cost. And it is something that you need to consider. So the fast track for economy is 41 days, which is still pretty heavy as far as timing goes. You're into that, 8 to 9 week area, possibly right out of the gate. Now, the next tier is standard. Standard has a $1,000 max value per item and is a fee of $80. So flat out, you're paying $80. There is no fast track, and the turnaround time is 15 days. Now, that applies for any year of comic up to $1,000. It's $80. You're gonna get it within 15 days. The next one is Express. If you're submitting collectibles under the Express grading tier, mark each side of the shipping box with EX in bold letters. $3,000 max, $130, and it is done within 5 days. The last one that's on the list for your possibility would be walkthrough. If you're submitting collectibles under the walkthrough grading, mark each item with a ship on the shipping box with WK in large bold letters. Maximum value unlimited, 3% of fair market value, $150 minimum. That's for fees in the 3-day turnaround. So those are the tiers. I do not do or have not done walkthrough or express at this time. I have done standard, economy, and modern. So actually I have not done, let me take that back. I have not done economy. I've done modern and standard at this point, and I've done many, many orders within those two. Assuming economy is identical to modern, it's just older books with longer wait times. So now that I explained the tiers, let me talk through some of the decision making that I make when I am preparing, when I'm going through books just to decide what should I send and what should I not send. Okay, that's really the conversation for today. And we'll go into some of these other details of grading and all this other stuff in later videos. But I wanted to kind of help you kind of sort. I guess that's this video, is sorting out the books to send, or at least to consider to send. So let's start off with modern. $400 max value. There's two decisions you have to make in this one, right? The book's either 1975 or not. So it's 1975 to present or not. You have to be 1975 or present. So there's no question there. $400 of value or less. Okay. No question there. It has to be $400 of value or less. If it exceeds that, they will adjust your pricing accordingly, and then you'll end up paying more. And that's on any tier below the walkthrough price. So the real question is, do you want to wait 35 days for $24 per comic book, or do you want to pay $39 per comic book? So 24 versus $39 per comic book, 10 days versus 35 days. Now, again, maybe you're independently wealthy and you're like, I don't care, I'm just going to get them in 10 days. That's your own decision. Or you're not, or you're somewhere in between and you're like, I don't want to waste the money. And for me, I don't want to waste the money. I'm not independently wealthy either, just to be clear. But I don't want to waste the money unless there is a reason to do so. If it is a book that I'm going to sell on whatnot that fits a show I'm doing, or if it is a book that I really want back, then I'm going to pay the $15 flat out. That's my thought process. Because I'm a seller, that approach should be removed if you're not a seller. So then it just boils down to, I want the book back. I want to know what the grade is. I think it's a 9.8. Maybe you're doing a trade with a buddy or whatever it may be. Maybe you just want it back in your collection. And that's fine. So for the max value per item, I would highly recommend checking eBay sale prices, GPA cover price, and get an idea of what the threshold of that comic book is. Don't just Google it. Use some resources. Get the value of the comic book. Now, let me show some books that I would fast track, that I may fast track, and that I may not fast track because time. And again, this is more of a seller's perspective than it would be for like my PC books. And then we're going to walk through economy, standard as well. So a couple of books that I will be sending 100% regular is X-Men Series 2. I have a ton of these very, very high grade. These are near mint copies, newsstands of X-Men Series 2 connecting covers. And these in high grade 9/8 go for right around $100, a little bit over $100. I got those for a very good deal. I'm probably going to, I may press them. I got to go back over the condition. And that's kind of the step 2 to this, is selecting the books you want to send. And then I would highly recommend diving into condition of each book so you can at least kind of dirty grade where you want to go beyond that. Do you really want to send it in? Is it worth the value proposition? Is it that ROI, return on investment? So those are some simple examples. And I use this because this is one of those books, right? So X-Men Series 1 newsstands, again, those go for over $100 in 9/8, and rightfully so. The market's been there for a while. It's going to hold steady. I don't need these books right away. It's just something I would like to have in my PC, and then I'll have additional copies to sell. That's the reason I'm doing that. I've got other books that I will be putting into that stack as well. So a couple of examples of those. Now, these books could go either which way for me. I may fast track them. I may not fast track them, depending on what I'm doing with whatnot and what shows and kind of where I'm at and what I need to do in the time frame I want to do it. Hellblazer #1, first solo, John Constantine. That may go fast track because I've got another copy I may sell and I've got another deal going. A very high grade copy of Secret Wars #10, Doom cover. And this is, I've got a ton of other books, like for Miles Morales Spider-Man #1 near mint. And so these are just basic examples. This is Spider-Man #1, the first meeting of Peter Parker and Miles Morales. I am setting up to do a big Miles Morales show. So I may fast track that, lose the $15 and hope to recoup with a high grade. And then like another example is the 1 in 50 King Spawn #1. I am gearing up for a Spawn show as well. So I may or may not do that. And the reason I do that predominantly is to get the goods back and then make a decision, keep or sell. If I'm doing a specific show, then I try to couple and pull a lot of resources together so I have ample supply of Spider-Man if I'm selling for Spider-Man or what have you. I will do it though if I am excited about a book too. And here's an example of 2 books that I was extremely excited for. Picked these up from San Diego Comic-Con. Had to have them graded. Had to have them back right away. That would be Spawn 175. So these were fast tracked. That is Spawn 175, second full appearance of Gunslinger in a 9.8. And then to accompany 175, if you're a Spawn guy, you know what I got next. Spawn 174 in a 9.6. Again, this 9.6 is flawless. I think that they felt obligated to give me a nudge on one, and unfortunately was on the 174, the first appearance. These I fast tracked. I bought these books. I was so excited. I had to have them. I absolutely had to have them sent to me right away, and I did. And there we go. So let's keep going. Those are some examples of some moderns. And again, I would say try to do modern, non-fast track as often as you can. Oh, and by the way, let me be clear on these examples. These were, both of these were in the standard because of the costing and price. But I did fast track those, and that's why I use those as an example. The value on those books exceeded $400 each. So I did not get to utilize modern standard. I had to go to standard, or I did not get to utilize modern. I had to use standard. There we go. Next is economy. Again, 400, same thought process. I don't have any economies available at this time that I'm going to send that route. So same thought process though. Choose some books, look up the value, look at the condition, right? Where we're at today and what I'm trying to explain and discuss with you is kind of figure out what avenue you want to go down, fast track or not, Is it standard? You know, where do you want to go? Get a stack of books out, or 5 books, 10 books, 20 books. I highly recommend doing volume. And then kind of put them in different buckets, right? These 10 books I want to fast track because of X. These 10 books or 20 books, 30 books, I want to just send in. These books are going to fall into economy, and these books are going to fall into standard unless you're doing express or what have you. And then you can go through those books and then decide, hey, this is probably not going to make the cut on this tier because it's too much money. An example of that is I've got to do stuff like this. This is Silver Surfer #1. This is going to go standard because the value of this book, I am guessing, is going to easily exceed $400. Now, a book that's on the fence that I would have to research more, because I have not done my research, is the Tales to Astonish 93 mid-grade copy. Will this exceed the $400? I don't know at this time. I have to look it up. I'm just now preparing my little stacks of books, and I'm going to start going over condition. Another good one is The Man Called Nova. This is a high-grade copy. Should at minimum be a 9.2. Needs to be pressed. #1, 9294 copy of that book. And then we get into some books I know that will or should exceed that with Avengers 48. This is, it's definitely above mid-grade. This is probably, I would hope, like an 8.0, something like that. And then another example would be Marvel Premiere featuring the Warlock #1, mid-grade copy. Right there. That could be over. This one definitely will be. This is a bump above mid-grade. I need to pull it out and press it. That's X-Men 14 for Sentinels. Definitely needs to be pressed. Very nice book, though. And then X-Men 12. This is mid-grade. It is missing or has a cutoff for a t-shirt. Does not affect the story, so we'll see what they do on that one. Those are not, again, all the books I'm going to be sending in, but all of those are standard grade because they're going to or should exceed. I'll have to check current pricing, but most of those will exceed that $400 limit. Some may exceed the $1,000. I got to check the pricing on those. But again, I just started pulling stacks. These are not all of the stacks. I didn't want to run for 45 minutes talking about, these are all the modern books I'm sending. These are all this. These are all that. I may do a video once I'm prepared to do that. But what I'll probably do with you guys is continue the conversation. And the next one would be, here's a couple of books for this grade, that grade, and the other. This is why, and go into the specifications of why I'm choosing them outside of what I've already explained for the X-Men and some of the other books. We'll see. I've got a lot of other cool videos planned, guys. The point I'm trying to make here is you have options with CGC, whether fast track or not. Save your money unless you need the books right away for whatever reason that you can come up with. But also check the value. Definitely check the grade of the book. See what the book is doing at the value that you believe it's at. Now, a tip for that real quick, and we'll go into more details, is if you have, and some of you may not, graded books, grab a graded book in a slab, look at the grade on top, and then look at your book. Go through your book. Make sure there's no tears, bends, pages aren't flipped over and all jumbled up. Make sure that if you're looking at a, especially older books where you're looking at like a 5.5, and you have a 5.5 or 6 or a grade below that's graded, look at it, kind of analyze it, and you should be able to dirty grade it. Is this a 9.6 side by side, even though it's not the same comic? No, this is not a 9.6. Is this a 9.4? And you can kind of start getting the flaws. There's also full definitions of all of the stuff available on the CGC website, along with all of the information I discussed, CGC specific. Today, guys, that's what we got for you. I'm hoping to help you prepare to select some books for your next CGC submission or CBCS. It isn't necessarily specific to CGC in the process we talked today. Both CGC and CBCS have similar tiers and everything. I think CBCS's prices went up, but that is what we got for you today, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Don't forget, subscribe here on our YouTube channel. Also, check us out over on Instagram at Breakoutdaily and over on the Whatnot app if you're looking to buy, sell, If you want to sell, let me know. If you want to buy, I've got a link down below that'll give you, I think it's $15 for free, 10 to $15 for free if you've never signed up for the app. You can get that for free. Spend it with me or with anyone else. It doesn't matter. But you can check us out there on the weekends, and then we do pop-up shows as well. We always welcome those that want to chat. You don't have to buy anything. You can always come in, hang out with us. And that's what we got for you today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with the Breakout Daily. I'm Anthony. We'll catch up with you in the next video.